Canned whole tomatoes, picked at their peak, are the most versatile ingredient in your pantry. But which brand tastes and cooks up best? Let's put it to the taste. Welcome to the Taste Test, the show where the ATK Reviews team goes above and beyond, testing and tasting ingredients so you can make smart decisions when you shop. Now today I'm joined by Jack Bishop, who has been on America's Test Kitchen, leading the tasting segments for 26 years. Jack, thank you so much for coming today and sharing this taste test with us.
I am so excited to be here, Lisa. You know, everything I do on TV is standing on the shoulders of the work that you and the rest of the reviews team do. So it's nice to be on the other side. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're really psyched to have you here today because we're going to be tasting whole canned tomatoes. How do you use them in your kitchen?
A couple times a week. They
Really?
go into soups, pasta sauces, stews. You know, you can't cook without tomatoes. Remember, I am Italian.
Yes, well, me too. So I get that. I get it very deeply. I feel it. And so I'm very excited to talk about this with you today.
So I'm really curious to taste these because I know from tasting them straight from the can, I'm imagining there are going to be big differences. Some are going to be really soft and some are going to be more firm. But I'm not really sure it matters because it's very unlikely that that texture is going to carry through in the cooked dish.
Yeah, now we're going to taste them all in simple tomato sauce, which, as you know, it's a favorite recipe at ATK. It's very simple. You just take those tomatoes and you cut them up, and there's a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic, a tiny pinch of sugar, fresh basil, and it's a very quick sauce. It's great because you can get this from a can to the table in, within a half hour.
Sounds great.
So Jack, when you go to the supermarket and you're going to buy canned tomatoes, are you brand loyal, or how do you decide?
I'm always going to give a preference to the Italian brands. You know, my grandmother is looking down when I'm shopping, and that's what she wants me to buy. But probably most importantly, I have a preference for anything packed in juice. I don't want something packed in puree because I think it gives the tomatoes more of a cooked flavor because the puree itself is cooked.
I've heard that canned tomatoes actually are fresher than sometimes what you can get in the supermarket. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 9 months of the year, 10 months of the year, I'm never buying fresh tomatoes in the supermarket. Certainly in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, you want to be using canned tomatoes. So they're going to have that just picked flavor. It's my go-to. And I got a lot of cans of tomato right now in my pantry.
So as you know, our ATK Reviews team already did a full tasting of these canned tomatoes. Today we're going to taste 7 brands of whole canned tomatoes, and we're going to see what we think.
I love being a decider.
Yes, me too. Let's go. Hey Jack, so this is the first sample. We have it in our simple tomato sauce, and then also just what it looks like out of the can with a little bit of liquid and 1 whole tomato. Why don't we start with that and just try it? This tomato looks like a long plum tomato.
I got a nice piece of skin. Actually, not so nice.
Yeah, mine's got some skin near the stem
They're supposed to
edge.
be peeled, and that one was not.
Yeah, not 100%.
Not a lot of seasoning on this one.
No, it's really bland,
Yeah.
but it's sort of sweet.
Very umami forward. It's very tomatoey. It is in desperate need of some salt, which it's probably going to get later in cooking.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I'm not that wild about this. That's
a big hunk of skin on there.
That's a big hunk of skin.
Mine's got some too, right there on the top by the stem. It didn't really come off. It's still attached. And those skin pieces just never break down. They're just in there. Let's try what happens when it gets cooked. It's pretty good, but it's kind of weak to me. It's not full flavored for some reason.
It's not sweet. I mean, this is it's a very savory tomato. And I know you said there's a little bit of sugar in this sauce, like a pinch. It could even use a little bit more.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is the tomato is very tender. Like when you go to cut it, it's not hard, it's not fibrous, it's pretty tender.
Yeah, and the juice, the packing liquid's nice.
Yeah, it tastes like juice to me, not cooked puree.
Yeah.
Want to find out what it is?
I definitely want to find out what it is.
This is Pastene, and it's a San Marzano tomato. San Marzano tomatoes are a type of tomato, but it's also the name of the town in this region in central Italy where they grow these specific tomatoes, and they say that the volcanic soil and the hot weather and the slight dryness of the region really contributes to this rich, full tomato flavor. They don't put anything in the can except the tomatoes by law. They basically say these tomatoes have to be from this region, this variety, picked this size, canned this way with these ingredients and no more.
And there's no salt, which was the immediate telltale. When I was tasting this plain, I knew this was an Italian tomato because I've bought enough canned tomatoes to know the Italian ones are the ones without the salt.
Yeah, they don't tend to put anything in like salt, and they don't have any firming agents, so they're very, very tender and soft. They're a little underwhelming straight out of the can, but I think they made a nice sauce. Let's see what the panel says. Yeah, very soft and low salt raw. Breaks down beautifully into a sweet, complex, saucy tomato. And, you know, this was pretty highly ranked. That is great to know. We were kind of in tune with the tasting panel.
Yeah, I don't know that they were as sweet as I might have liked, but one of the things is it's a natural product, right?
Yes.
And so they're gonna vary somewhat from can to can, right?
Yeah. So you ready for the next sample?
I'm ready, Lisa.
I'm looking at this tomato and it does not look like the last one.
No, it looks very pert and firm. I mean,
It's like a little tennis ball in there.
yeah, I might need a knife to get in here.
I know.
Well,
what
it's
the heck?
actually not as...
Oh, I poked it with a spoon and juice just sort of shot out of it.
Now, the juice is almost yellow on this one
Yeah,
rather than red.
it tastes kind of fresh.
It's a nice tomato. It's a really nice tomato. It's very meaty.
Yeah, look at that. All
Look
the
at that.
seeds
I
and
mean,
pulp.
that's like a real tomato.
Yeah.
Feels like it. And that liquid is almost golden.
Yeah, we learned that the pulp and the seeds have as much flavor as the tomato, right? It's not something you should take out if you want tomato flavor.
Never, ever seed a tomato.
Yeah.
That's where all the good stuff is.
Yeah, you're just throwing it away.
Yeah.
And also we learned that when you can tomatoes, a juice that kind of skews yellow is actually processed at a lower temperature. It's not processed as hot. Let's see how it turned into simple tomato sauce. What do you think?
I like this one.
I do too.
It's very meaty.
Yeah,
The tomatoes are more forward here.
yeah, not the basil.
Right, than that first sample, which was good, but this is delicious. There are more seeds here.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's tons of white pieces. I was like, is that garlic? But I think it's seeds.
It's tomato seeds, which, you know, aesthetically don't love, but as we were saying, these have got so much flavor is in the jelly around the seeds that I'm gonna live with the seeds in my tomato sauce and it'll be fine.
Let's find out what it is. Muir Glen organic whole peeled tomatoes. So it's an American brand.
Yeah.
This one contains some calcium chloride and citric acid, which keeps the firmness of the tomatoes. We saw those intact balls of tomato.
Right.
They weren't collapsed like the Italian ones. And the citric acid lends some brightness. It kind of maintains that fresh brightness, or that's what their hope is. And these are organic tomatoes, and they are packed in juice as we prefer.
Yeah, this is a really nice tomato.
Yeah, I like that too.
I'm very happy. So this is a brand I buy. When I buy an American brand, I often will buy this because it's organic, it's from California, so why not? It's nice and sunny there and pretty delicious.
It really is. It made a nice sauce. Let's see what the panel said. They noticed a firm texture, bright and pleasant, homemade feel. Some people found it a little bit mild and watery. You know, definitely the low to moderate sodium worked with the tomato. It kept the flavor kind of there, even in the can. And it didn't become overly salty when we salted it. I thought it was nice. You know, I think we were more enthusiastic than the panel, but I think we're mostly in line.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so want to try another one?
I'm ready.
Me too. This tomato is long and skinny.
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
is very skinny and long. The juice is what do I call a medium red color.
Wow, the juice just tastes like tomato juice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really soft tomato,
That just dissolves.
but it's really sweet. I think this might be the sweetest tomato we've tasted so far. I mean, mine actually looks better than yours.
Yeah, yours is like red, mine is kind of yellow. I'm
Yeah.
like sad.
Mine is lovely. It tastes really ripe, like summer. This is like my garden on a good day in August.
Oh. So they look like they're from different cans, but it's an agricultural product, right? I mean, tomatoes are tomatoes. You're going to pick them and they will look different.
Yeah, and I will sometimes, there'll be a can and there'll be a tomato that doesn't look great to me and I just chuck it. Ideally, you're not doing any of that. And
Yeah.
100% usable, but my tomato is beautiful and yours is so-so.
It's fine.
Well, let's see what happens in sauce, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can tell just by putting the spoon in here, these tomatoes are so soft. Like the sauce itself,
Compared to that last one, where there was almost a chewiness, this is just velvety.
but there's a lot of sweetness and there's a lot of acidity here.
Yeah, it has a nice flavor. It's
Yeah.
kind of salty.
Yeah, it's actually too salty for me. I would put less salt in
Yeah.
if I were cooking at home, but it's kind of delicious.
Yeah, it is good. It has a really tomatoey flavor.
Yeah, I'm increasingly happy.
Yeah.
I was already in a happy place, Lisa. Thank you.
I really like that. I think it's interesting. Let's see what it is.
Yeah.
This is Hunt's San Marzano style whole peel tomatoes. So Hunt's is obviously a old legacy brand
Right.
in America, and now they're trying to imitate the Italian style.
So that's why they were longer and skinnier rather
Yes.
than round and fat. But these
Yeah.
are not grown in Italy, correct?
No, they're just style, which means that they process them a little bit more like the ones that we tasted from Italy. This does have tomato puree,
Okay.
which is water and tomato paste. Paste is like the last product down the line when they've cooked everything out of it, and it's just very, very thick. It has less than 2% salt and citric acid, no calcium chloride. So none of those firming agents, that was really evident in the sauce.
Yeah, and I wonder if that paste was contributing to what I thought was this is the sweetest sample so far.
Maybe.
And I wonder whether, especially in the sauce, that tomato paste in the puree that
Yeah.
was in the packing medium was making the sauce sweeter.
Yeah, the tasting panel noticed that soft, silky texture. It was very bright and fruity, but also very salty and acidic, and falls apart when you put it in the sauce, which is exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's our next sample. Let's see what it can do. Wow, this is completely round, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of plum-shaped, but totally firm. Look at this.
Yeah, I'm worried I'm going
I
to
can't get through it. I need a knife.
yeah, or it's going to end up like flying across the table here.
I know, I should brace myself. I'm hiding. Very firm and kind of fibrous. It can't let go.
It's almost chewy in a way that isn't that appealing.
No.
Like if I had to eat this raw, this would not be the brand I would choose.
No, it's super firm and fibrous almost. Like you can feel the texture of all the fibers of the tomato under the peel. There's no peel traces on it, but it's very tough. And I've got the stem end here, and it's actually hard to cut through. I'm struggling a little bit to cut it. There we go.
There's not enough acidity. It's kind of bland.
It is, yeah. The juice tastes more tomatoey than the tomato.
Does the color of this one look different to you?
It's
Yeah.
more orange than red.
Yeah.
How's it taste?
It reminds me of the sauce you'd get at the bad restaurants I was taken to as a child.
Okay, that's not good. I kind of know what you mean, though.
Yeah, I'm in a strip mall in New Jersey where I grew up at an Italian-American restaurant that
Yeah, and it kind of like waters out a little bit on the pasta.
yeah, there's a lot of texture, but there's not a lot of flavor. And
Yes.
the texture's not very appealing.
And most of what I'm tasting is the basil, the olive oil, not the tomato. That's like third place.
Yeah, this is the first one that I'm like, I don't really like this. The rest have all
Yeah.
been good. They've been different from each other. This one's like, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of tomato sauce, it's like French fries. There's not really bad French fries, but this is sort of verging on that. You know, it's not great.
No, it's really bland.
It's boring. Okay, well, I'm not that thrilled with this one. Want to find out what it is?
Yeah, I'm really interested.
This is San American tomatoes. Everyone has seen these in the supermarket.
Like, this is a domestic tomato that's pretending to be an Italian tomato? Is
Yes,
that right?
yes. They're actually, they put some Italian on here, pomodoro, pelati, peeled tomatoes, whole peeled tomatoes. You know, they're trying to pass as Italian, and this long shape is the shape of a San Marzano tomato.
Yeah, but hello.
That does not resemble, you're right?
This looks like an American round plum tomato,
It
not
does.
a San
It was like a
Marzano
little-
tomato.
Yeah, nice try.
It's a very pretty label.
It is. I think it's really distinctive and it jumps out. And I think a lot of people have gotten excited about this because it looks so like Italian and gorgeous.
Well, that's why I bought it.
Yeah. But this is grown in Pennsylvania, which is actually a place where they grow a lot of tomatoes. So apparently it's got a nice climate and, for growing tomatoes. They are supposedly the seeds of San Marzano tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
But they're grown in Pennsylvania. And they also have citric acid and sea salt, and it's 240 milligrams of sodium in a half cup. So we're going up with the salt.
Right.
But these tomatoes, the citric acid is providing some brightness, but it didn't feel like tomato brightness. It just tasted sort of citric-y.
Yeah, and the
know?
tomato flavor, that sweet, sour, meaty interplay that you get in a really good summer tomato, I wasn't getting it from this sample.
No, and there's also that fibrousness, that toughness. I mean, they don't have the calcium chloride, but boy, they might as well. I don't know how they did it. These are like not going anywhere. They're just, you could bounce them.
Well, yeah, maybe I mean, these reminded me of like if you canned the not very good plum tomatoes you get in the supermarket.
Yes.
Like
those
what
little
I imagine
rocks,
this
yeah.
might be like, yeah.
Yeah. Our tasters said that they tasted pretty good to them plain, but cooked they were too salty and too savory, and the chunks stayed dense and firm.
Yeah, now if I doctored the sauce and had pepper flakes, served it with a lot of Parmesan, like I could make this taste better, but in this
Yeah.
really stripped down sauce, you're kind of starting with a deficit.
Why start behind when there are other choices?
Exactly.
Okay, we have our next sample. Here's hoping it's better than the last one.
I love that you're an optimist.
Every time I am. Yes, I always hope. This tomato has a lot of skin on it, and it's oval.
Mine is pretty well peeled.
Wow, okay. Very sour, like not sweet at all, and
No.
very chewy.
It reminds me of like underripe cantaloupe.
Ooh, yes, exactly. That kind of weird pulpiness.
The liquid's good. It's got a nice tomatoey flavor. You know, the tomato itself's really firm.
Yeah, I gave up trying to cut through it. I need a steak knife.
It's very medium. Going to be interesting to see how this translates into sauce, but it's not the best if you were forced to eat the tomatoes right out of the can. This would not be a
No.
first choice.
Luckily, we don't often do that.
You're the only person I know who does that, Lisa.
But you know, when we do tastings, we like to taste them as plain as possible.
Yeah.
And just kind of get away all the other distractions. And then we taste them in cooked applications. This is really thick.
And they really didn't break down. I mean, they're nice. You know, if you wanted a tomato with meaty chunks in your sauce, or if you're making, you know, maybe your pasta fagioli soup or something where you wanted bursts of tomato,
Yep. Yeah,
this one holds its shape.
It does. To me, it's almost too much. I actually want it to break down a little more. I miss that sort of velvety texture in the sauce.
It's it should be smoother. I like the tomato flavor. It's not quite as sweet as I think I want it.
Mine was definitely not sweet out of the can, and I don't think it's gotten a ton better here. I don't like that I keep hitting these really hard, unripe pieces, like I'm just, you know, chewing on it.
Yeah, I think the texture for me is a bigger problem than the flavor, which is okay.
Yeah, but for me, it's only okay. It doesn't have like that really big burst of delicious tomatoiness that I really want. I'm not that thrilled with this one, and I'm really curious what it is. Do you want to find out?
Yeah, let's find out.
So this is Hunt's whole tomatoes. I don't know, did you expect that?
Well, it's really different than the other hunts that we tried, which was the San Marzano style. And I guess this was it doesn't say it, but I assume this is the American style.
I guess so, yes.
It's not just marketing. They're really different.
They are really different. I definitely saw a big difference. The firmness of these was off the charts.
Yeah.
And there it is, calcium chloride. Boy, they don't need much for it to have that firmness. Maybe it's the variety of tomato. It is a plum tomato, but it was very round, and it was intensely, you know, sticking to its roots as a whole tomato.
It was chewy, and you really don't want chewy canned tomatoes. So I much prefer the other hunts. If I'm going to buy this brand, I'd get the other sample with the San Marzano style.
Yeah, where they gave up on that calcium chloride and just let the tomato be. And that's something people can look for. If you don't want the firm texture, or if you do, the calcium chloride is the ingredient that holds that firmness of those tomatoes. And they're trying to preserve a sort of a fresh texture, but sometimes I think it can go too far.
Yeah, and more often than not, I want the tomato to kind of melt into the dish. And this is going to be a long time until this tomato melts anywhere because it's just so firm.
Yeah, you'll be like trying to mash and chop it long after it's been in the pot for a while. More tomatoes coming up next.
I'm still excited, Lisa.
That's good.
So the liquid here is more on the red side, I would say.
Yep.
Nice flavor.
Yeah. The tomato is not overly tough to cut.
No, it's not falling apart, but it's not rubbery either.
Yeah. No more of that melon of that other one.
It's a nice tomato.
Yeah.
I like the flavor of this quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, actually, I also noticed there's not much peel.
No, I got no
And
peel.
they look alike. You
Yeah,
know? They
yeah.
look like they came out of the same can.
Oh, they're twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what this did in sauce because I liked it straight from the can.
A little salty.
It's a little on the salty side, but it's more complex. There's nice acidity, there's nice sweetness, there's a lot of tomato umami forward. It's chunky but not tough, like the previous sample, which was just tough. This is not perfectly smooth, but it's still tender.
Yeah, it is tender. I like that about it. It's surprising. I have gotten a few pieces that are, you know, a piece of skin or a little bit firmer chunks, but for the most part, it broke down a little more. I think it's pretty good.
Well, I like this one a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's not my favorite, but I like it. It doesn't have some of the big flaws of the ones that we didn't like. For me, it's a little bit irregular because I'm getting some chunks that are a little firmer and then some parts that are very more smooth or smaller pieces.
There are a fair number of seeds in it. They're visually a little bothersome, but you don't really notice them when you're tasting the sauce.
I'm getting a fair amount of salt, though. I feel like it's a little too much.
Yeah, it's a little on the salty side. I would add less next time if I were using this brand.
You know, we saw a pretty big range of sodium in the canned tomatoes.
Right.
Some were very minimal, some were a little bit on the high side. And for the tasting, we put the same amount of salt in, so they kind of had to stand on their merits.
What is this brand that we are?
We're like a little, we're a little mixed on this one. I think you liked it a little more than I did. Let's see. This is Tuttorosso.
Huh, okay.
This is a brand that is from Indiana and very big brand in the Midwest. Red Gold makes it.
Oh.
And this is their sort of Italian styles of tomatoes. They're Tuttorosso. Italian name sounds very Italian. It is from Indiana, not Italy. For me, the firmness was a little irregular in the sauce. I got some firm pieces and some not firm pieces. You liked it, and sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, so it's good. They're also plum tomatoes, but they're not the San Marzano. These are very round, but Italian style. I don't know what that means because it has the salt, the calcium chloride, the citric acid.
This one feels like more marketing. It's not really Italian style, as opposed to this the Hunt's San Marzano style. Really did feel different.
Yes.
These actually seem like American tomatoes.
Yeah.
But they're good.
Yeah, they're very basic to me. They're very kind of middle of the road for me. We made it to the last sample. Want to try it?
I'm
Still
really
game?
interested. This one looks really different, first of all. It looks like somebody put jarred tomato sauce on top of my... I mean, look at that, Lisa.
Yes, it's so thick.
I mean, that is not juice. Obviously, that is
No.
tomato... It's not even... It feels like tomato sauce.
It's plum-shaped.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, long.
Yeah, this is the Italian shape. We'll see. It has a heavy cooked flavor.
Huh.
There's not much salt on this one.
No, very plain. To me, it's got a nice sweetness.
The tomato is much better than the packing medium.
Yeah.
The tomato itself is actually pretty sweet and bright.
Yeah.
This weird sauce that they put in
Yeah,
it is not helping matters.
There's like thick and thin areas of it
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some things that seem like more like yellow juice actually coming out of the tomato as I've cut it, but I'm not a fan of the thick packing liquid.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe it's fine in the sauce itself.
Yeah.
It's very concentrated.
Yeah.
This sauce feels like it cooked longer, and I think that's because of the cooked puree that was in the can there.
I think it's almost, to me, it's kind of velvety. I like it.
Yeah, agreed. It's got big flavor. Like, it's not bland.
No.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, that was kind of plain, but this is not plain. This is really good. And I feel like the other elements, the basil and the salt and the oil and all the things, like I can taste them. They're kind of in balance, but the tomato is forward.
Well, it has the liveliness and the brightness of a fresh tomato captured in this cooked sauce in a way that some of the other samples didn't have that. You've ended on a nice note here. This is a nice tomato.
Good. Want to find out what it is?
I definitely want to find out what it is.
This is Cento, certified San Marzano, product of Italy. Here we go. This is the Italians.
Well, of course.
Of course.
I have bought this brand before. They're lovely. I mean, I haven't ever done it this way. You know, the problem when you do it informally, you buy a can of tomatoes and then 3 weeks later you buy another one, and who remembers what the tomatoes were like 3 weeks ago. But this is really good, and I would say this makes me think I should be buying Italian tomatoes.
It does say San Marzano whole peel tomatoes, San Marzano puree. So they made that puree, but from San Marzano tomatoes. Sea salt and basil leaf. So that's it. The salt is 40 milligrams per half cup. So this is the lowest salt by far.
It didn't taste under seasoned because there was so much flavor from the tomatoes themselves, and I think from that puree.
No, I think it definitely created a little bit of sweetness. It gave it some nice flavor. It was a little boring straight up. I thought it really came alive in this sauce. I was really happy.
I'm a little embarrassed because maybe you've forgotten this, but I said earlier that I buy tomatoes packed in juice. and here's one packed in puree that I kind of liked.
Yeah,
so,
right?
Good to know I'm still able to change my mind about something.
Yeah, no, I think that's, that's what we do this for, so we can change our minds. We taste it without any labeling, and we really sort of say, what did I think when it's, in a bowl in front of me, not what do I think about this label, or what have I always bought,
Right.
or what's on sale, or whatever. I was really surprised, because for years here, we would always say, don't waste your money on those imported San Marzanos, right? But that's because we always would average together the plain and the cooked tasting until we had that revelation of like, who eats them plain? We want to know what they do in the sauce or in the recipe. Once we eliminated those scores, the plain scores, where they're really boring, this is what matters. It kind of lined right up, and those San Marzanos really kind of jumped up.
Yeah, and it may be that the DOP, which means that there's an outside certifying organization, making sure that those tomatoes are all premium tomatoes, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
they
that
have to
is
be worthy.
That is the point of the whole process of a DOP, is that they have standards, and they're not necessarily Cento standards. They're the cooperative standards. And,
Yes.
And in this case, they make some lovely tomatoes.
Yes.
I'm believing that if I were walking through the fields in San Marzano and eating one of these tomatoes, I might be very happy.
Jack, thank you so much. This was so much fun to taste tomatoes with you.
Thanks, Lisa. I had a great time.
So which were your favorites and maybe your least favorites?
The Cento down at the end, I liked the Muir Glen and the Hunt's San Marzano style. I did not like this San Marican tomatoes. They did not do it for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. Those were disappointing and kind of surprising. And I was kind of, definitely with you on the Cento. I really liked those. Was there anything that surprised you?
Well, the fact that the Cento's made with tomato puree, and I think I started out by saying don't buy tomatoes ever with puree, buy them with juice. And, well, I changed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they use San Marzano tomatoes for the puree. So the DOP is probably making sure they have the same type of tomato at a high quality and not just like any kind of can fill that you might get with other purees.
Maybe we need to go to Italy and see if that's really what's going on in San Marzano. What do you think?
First person investigation, I'm there. Let's go. Let's make a plan. I hear it's beautiful in the spring.
Your card or mine?
Here are the ATK Reviews team's official results. Recommended: Tuttorosso peeled plum Italian-style tomatoes, San Marican whole peeled tomatoes, Hunt's whole plum tomatoes, Hunt's San Marzano-style whole peeled tomatoes, Pastene San Marzano tomato, DOP, Muir Glen organic whole peeled tomatoes, and our winner, highly recommended, Cento San Marzano certified peeled tomatoes. For the full rankings, results, and reasons to buy or not, check out the story on our ATK app.